Hi there, Robin here from Expert Island, and today it's going to be our tips and tricks in 5 minutes, so no dilly-dallying, we're going to get right to it. What we're talking about today is hooking up your subwoofer separately from your main speakers onto a mixer. If you decide you are going, no, but I want to do this on a controller, you can still do that. Of course, you just hook your controller up to the mixer. This is going to let you adjust the volume, gain levels, on your subwoofer separately from your main speakers. So that's what today's video is all about. We do have 3 mixers here, so we're going to go through them and we're going to go through the cables. If you're using a regular subwoofer for home, so let's say a 10-inch, whatever it is, a Paradigm or Polk Audio or whatever you've got, and you do want to do this, be careful because they are home theater subs and they do run on RCAs, so you will need adapters. So we'll go through some of the adapters first and then we'll show where they all plug in. Some of the adapters, if your subwoofer is not the same as the speaker, as the mixer, which means the mixers may have 1/4-inch outputs, which are connectors like this, and or your subwoofer has an XLR, which is like this. You will need the proper cable to do that, and that's what we're going to talk about here today. If you have a subwoofer that has RCA at one end, that's what the subwoofer needs. Depending on how we hook it up to the actual mixer, we'll need a different type of cable connection. So first and foremost, hooking up a subwoofer separately is really good for actual volume level controls. If we start with the Alesis, not because of the brand, but because the fact that it has really 3 good ways to hook up a subwoofer. Of course, you can always do it through the main, so you come main out to the subs and from the sub to the left and right. Or you have the option to go out through the monitor. This particular unit has a separate volume control just for the monitor outputs on it right here, and by having that, I've got my main speakers on the main out and I can plug the subwoofer. So depending on this setup here, which is a balanced or unbalanced connection, that means either 3 connections or 2 connection points on the actual cable. So this has 3 connection points. Also looks familiar because it's also for a set of headphones if you were going to do it that way. So this is a balanced connection. I can use this on this particular mixer, and as long as my subwoofer on the back says balanced or unbalanced, then we're fine. We can use that. I can also use the AUX, the auxiliary output, on the actual mixer, and that would also give me the ability to come off the auxiliary send off the top. Now, you also got to check to see if that was balanced or unbalanced. Without knowing, if I'm not 100% sure, I will use an unbalanced cable and plug that into here. Now, the difference when you use an auxiliary line, an aux off the board, is you can be very specific about where that sub is going to be getting its music from. If I have my music plugged into, let's say, channel 7 and 8, I can just turn up that auxiliary input there and be able to have just the bass effect that. I'm not going to have any bass added to my microphones, which would be over here, which is another really good reason to hook up your subwoofer separately from your mains. You don't want bass in your mics, especially subwoofer bass, boom, that's a good way to do it. The subwoofer could be different. It could be an XLR, which is quite common on a subwoofer, but most mixers, when it comes to taking off the monitor or the AUX output send on the actual unit, is going to be a 1/4-inch. If you're not sure if you need balanced or unbalanced, then get yourself a cable that's unbalanced for the 1/4-inch and standard balanced on the XLR side. This is going to solve your problem. When in doubt, turn up the volume just a little bit. If you are getting a humming or buzzing sound from it, there you go. Do not use your headphone jack if this is the only cable you have. If you have a balanced cable, you do not want to come out of, let's say, the headphone jack, which I'll show you can do. Use the headphone option and plug this balanced cable, which looks also like a headphone jack, on your actual subwoofer. This is going to cause sound problems because it's running 2 parallel channels, the left and right signal, and it's not a balanced connection for noise cancellation. So I would not use that for a headphone output. You can use it. If your subwoofer has RCA jacks, get a cable that is RCA at one end, maybe it's only 3.5 at the other, so you do need a headphone adapter. You plug all that together. This can now go in the headphone jack, and this can now go into your regular system. If your system has XLR, then make sure you have XLR at this end. If it's 1/4-inch, make sure you have 1/4-inch. So we do have one of those cables here. Here is the 1/4-inch version. So it's set up to split it's a TRS setup, and it separates it into a left and right signal instead. So this is very good for doing exactly what we want. 2 unbalanced cables, 1 balanced cable. This is going to work perfectly in the headphone jack. Now my left and right is going to be here. This would go straight into one subwoofer, or I'd have to come up with some extension for one of them to go into the other sub if that's what I need, or I just link the 2 subs together. That is how you work that. So always pay attention. If you're getting a humming and buzzing sound, or you're not getting the sound quality that you expect, you probably are just using the wrong combination of jacks. Look for the 2 black bands in the actual cable. Make sure you're using this only when you're doing a headphone jack, or if you know you're going to go from a balance auxiliary or control room out to a balance on the other end. So that's what that's all about. Remember, you may need RCA cables. You may need 1/4 inch to RCA adapters. That would be an unbalanced unbalanced. You may also need an XLR to RCA, so that would be an unbalanced RCA connects to a balanced XLR connection, depending on what you have equipment-wise. You may also need just some basic XLR cables, and that's pretty much that for that. You can buy finished cables. If you know exactly what you're looking for, you can give these kind of cables a try. This is a pre-done cable that's, 6 feet long, 2 meters, that sort of thing. RCA is at one end, and XLR is the other. The one setup you do not want to do is you do not want to come out of if your mixer has RCA outputs, I don't recommend that as being your line out, because one, we don't know if that signal's been modified, if it's pre-post or anything when it comes to EQing on the board, and a lot of times it has no gain controls on the board out to those RCAs. So don't use RCAs as you have them, get the proper adapters, use it off the board, get the right cable combination. There we go. So that's how this is. So we did have a monitor out. So we had 2 left and right on this particular model. And we also had headphone out, so we could use that with the headphone connection. And of course, the traditional main output, along with, remember, if you just want to have it on the mixing board on that particular channel for your music, but not your microphones, you can use the aux send. And that'll do the trick there. So we'll slide this away. That covers Elise's. Let's say you buy a more friendly piece, let's say this from Pilot's, a consumer mixer, which has Bluetooth and all of the extra bells and whistles on it. A mixer like this would have our main out, our control out, and a headphone. Both headphone and control out are operated right off the headphone control knob. This allows me to separate and bring out the sub. If, again, I use the headphone jack, use the proper cable that's going to split my left and right signal, so this way I can get it into the sub. This is only going to work, this kind of combination where I have my stereo to 2 monos, left and right. That's the only way it's going to work. This will not work. If this is the only cable you have, this will not work in the headphone jack. This will work in the control out, in the control room, or in any aux output if you have a balance option. So there you go, that's for that there. So again, headphone knob allows me to control this, and I have both depending on the type of cable connections I have and if I'm going to be using the headphones or not, right there. So there we go, that one's done. Let's go to a Mackie brand new, the Pro FX, and this happens to be the 10, so version 3. And again, with this particular mixer, we're going to have to look at it, it's brand new. So we do have control room options, which are located right up here. So I do have a dedicated knob for the controller. Remember, we're using this because we want to play our music and we want to have control over our subs. We're not looking to add an extra set of regular speakers through the control room. So there you go, you've got that. This particular mixer, I can take the FX send. I can take the FX send, and I won't be able to use the FX in this unit anymore. If I plug into here, then it'll be like my aux. Aux send, I'll be able to choose exactly what I want to turn up and down, and that'll be how that works there. So there you go. 3 different mixers, a whole bunch of different ways to connect things. Simple, easy, 5-minute video. Hopefully it's 5 minutes. That was the goal. Tips and tricks, more coming up. If you've subscribed, thank you very much. If you haven't, please do. That's always a good time. There should be other videos for you to watch. We've got a large assortment. And if you like the video, please give me a thumbs up and pin if you want to actually find out what our next video is. See you in the next one, and bye for now.